I promise you, no one is sure that is going to be on the roster of the World Cup 2020 season here. I don't believe it before that was in the same way or not. But today, I promise, all the guys feel that they need to fight to be there. And that is priceless.
Okay, so there is Mauricio Pochettino talking about how different things are since he took over about a year ago. Tone, would you agree? Is everyone on their tones? Are things that different under Poch?
Well, I think one of the missions coming in, right, we talked about the last portion of Greg Berhalter's reign about sort of being, kumbaya, right? Everyone came in and everyone's happy and everyone loves each other, and that's great.
BFFs.
But I think Mauricio Pochettino set a different tone here. He's saying, you know what, I want guys to fight for this. I want guys to fight for the jersey and the badge and all of that stuff and want to be here. And nobody's guaranteed coming into this national team. If he's been steadfast on one message, that's been the one from day one, that he's been, this is non-negotiable, right? You need to want to be here all the time and fight every single day to be here. So kudos to him for not changing that part of the message.
Have you seen that as a benefit, Mike, over the last year? Would you say that it's been a positive change for the U.S.? Do they need that, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's much needed. And this is a group that we're comfortable. Yeah. Players knowing that they didn't have to play for their club teams, they didn't have to even get minutes or even be on the roster for certain matches, that the national team was kind of a vacation for some of their club woes. That needs to stop in U.S. soccer. That needs to stop significantly. And I think that's kind of exacerbates the root of it, which is the pay-to-play model that starts in this country. Now, with the World Cup, and we have someone who's been there and done that 30 years before with the World Cup on your home soil, that's the sort of cultural change that I've been begging to happen with U.S. soccer and Mauricio Pochettino. And I love when he talked about his communication style as well. He's changing everything that's happened, but within the camp, I think we're starting to see some of the fruits of positive behavior, some of the fruits of chemistry and connection. And the man in the middle right there, Christian Pulisic, in the last match against Japan, I know everyone was watching, but I saw a different body language in Christian. Players like Fol Balogun are responding, Chris Richards as well. So there's a new core that's starting to show itself heading into the World Cup.
Well, speaking of Christian Pulisic, he's one of the players that is questionable for this match tonight. That is the bit of the negative right now is there are some key absences or potential absences. Pulisic is one. Antonee Robinson, as he works back from his injury. He hasn't featured Tone for the U.S. since last November in the Nations League, and then Alex Zendejas also on that list, a player who is looking to push for more and more minutes. So how different do things look without those guys potentially featuring as Poch tries to start and see what a cohesive first choice lineup really looks like?
Yeah, well, we haven't seen Antonee Robinson, as you mentioned, right? So everyone's excited to see him under Poch and that freedom of the role on the left-hand side. But if you go back to the Japan match, right, and think about how we played with that box in the midfield, it was these two guys, Christian Pulisic and Zendejas, who had a great goal in that one as well. I had a great assist to Balogun on the second goal. That portion of the field, I thought, okay, we're starting to figure that out. Now we may not potentially see it, at least for the first match. So I don't know that I'd call it concerning. I just think, if these two guys don't get an opportunity, it seems like Zendejas is the furthest away from playing with his injury. We may see Christian. But, Aaron, I feel like we'd be missing something as viewers, right? Because I felt like we were growing something after that last camp.
Yeah, it felt like in the last camp we were starting to build those connections. You started, like you spoke about, Christian Pulisic and Zendejas along with Balogun. It started to feel like we were starting to build that rapport that you look up, you know exactly where the player is running. And now we don't get that. It's going to be probably Malik Tillman in that role for Christian Pulisic. It'll probably be Arsene on the left side for Robinson. But for me, that's also a blessing in disguise. We have to figure out the rest of this roster. And we've been talking ad nauseum about when are we going to fill out this roster. So as much as I would love to see these guys play together, it does address the other issue is what's the rest of the 23 going to look like?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I will say one of the things under Poch is that we have seen a lot of different players who get looks, and there will be some opportunities potentially in this window as well, with some players absent, with Poch still trying to maybe figure out a little bit more what his preferred starting lineup is. So who are some guys, or even preferred roster that'll be going to the World Cup next summer? Who are some guys that even could really benefit from some of those absences and some big opportunities?
Yeah, I'm going to start at the very top. A player who looked like, when we have this question mark of who's going to be the striker, I still think he has a lot of work to do. But Patrick Agyemang, it's a big opportunity for him. This is make or break for Agyemang because he's on the outside looking in. Flo Balogun's the guy right now. And Josh Sargent, could you still have a life? Patrick Agyemang, Haji Wright, they will be battling back and forth. Haji Wright, mind you, is the leading goal scorer in the championship.
Yeah.
So when you're playing in the same league, you got some ground to make up. Brendan Aronson left in the cold, right, in the last window, back, and he has a big point to prove, especially in Austin, Texas, because Poch's first game, you go back to the first goal that was scored by Yunus Musa, Brendan Aronson and Christian combined, and they look to have some good chemistry. With the injury questions around Christian Pulisic, next man up. This is a monster moment for him, fighting for his position as well. Weston McKennie, I want to see which Weston we're going to see. Are we going to see the Weston that I was very disappointed in at the Nations League? I didn't like the positions he took up. I didn't like some of the character kind of questions that I had about him. In the last couple matches for Juve, much better for him, and I think he's going to be fired up. Tanner Tessman, this is his camp to shine. Been really impressed with him at Lyon, and his manager has come out and said he's grown so much significantly in terms of his defensive attributes, but he's become a key player. Him and Corentin Tolisso, they are Lyon's midfield in Ligue 1 and in the Europa League. And then Aiden Morris also started in that first match against in Q2. I think this is a good moment for him where he looked like he could be maybe that deep-lying playmaker. Could he punch his ticket? And Mark McKenzie, we had him on the show, amazing friend of the show, but he needs to etch his name back in Poch's thoughts because last couple appearances he made for the U.S. men's national team, Tones, he wasn't as convincing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he plays as a left center back at his club. And if we do see three in the back, he might be an option there. Might be a really good option there. But I chose Brendan Aronson as the top because I think he's a fringe guy that's right now on the outside looking in and needs to convince that he can do it under Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the projected lineup for the U.S. ahead of this match against Ecuador tonight. What do you boys think about this? Wes, I'll start with you. Anyone in particular stand out? We have this lined up as a 4-3-3 for the United States.
Yeah. I want to look at Alex Freeman for the United States because I'm a big fan of his. On this right side, we've kind of had questions. Is it going to be Serginho Dest? Is it going to be someone else? And Alex Freeman, I think, has submitted his name probably in this squad, if not as a starter. Serginho Dest is still going to have his say with that. But Alex Freeman can do it all. He can get up and down. He's got 6 goals, 5 assists on the season, a great engine, a solid one-on-one defender. Still young and a lot of potential and a lot of room to grow into this team, especially this partnership, you want to call it, with Tim Weah. I think it's something that we can really grow with the U.S. men's national team. So I'm really interested to see how he looks in this side.
Yeah. Lahoud?
Yeah, I think it's a good shout. I'm also looking on the left side because Max Arfsten, who I'm just going to highlight him, Tones, we were talking about the things that you get from him. You know that he's going to have the ability to bomb forward. And this connection with Christian that I saw, he allows Christian, if he's able to play, or whoever's on this side, to come in and play next to Flo Balogun right in the middle. So instead of having Flo isolated, thank you very much. I went to PowerPoint school on this iPad. Thank you to our producer for trusting me with this. It's been a while. But this connection between these two, and with Christian and Flo, or whoever's playing there, this space is going to be so important where you have to be maybe 5 yards apart where it's Flo coming in like this, Christian running in behind. So when I show you on the iPad, it's going to look like Flo maybe dropping in to hold the ball right here, and then this winger making the run in. And when you're playing against an Ecuadorian back line in midfield that they're so tight and they're so aggressive in how they defend, you need that dynamic movement. And I think Christian and Flo, when healthy, they give you that. But it starts with Max Arfsten on the left-hand side, giving you the width. And the best we've seen him play, Tones, is when he's played in this back three. He gives you that attacking wing-back presence that you maybe not be at Antonee Jedi Robinson's level, but he still gives you an end product that I love.
Because he's more comfortable in the attacking third of the field, right? It's essentially a winger. On the other side of the ball, you're playing against, I'm excited, you're playing against the second best defensive team in the entire world. Finished second in CONMEBOL. Some people think this is the best defensive unit. Of course, they don't have Moises Caicedo in the middle of the field, so that's a big miss. But I don't think it changes the theory and the way that Ecuador wants to go about it, right? They're built around defending first. So you talk about a challenge for the U.S. to try and break them down. We were doing predictions and scores and all of that stuff on Call It What You Want. And I just think it's going to be a low-scoring game in general because they don't give up a lot of goals. Yeah. You got a Champions League winner that's at center back. I mean, you're missing the Flamengo Plata, the guy who plays. Franco will play tonight. Enter Valencia, 100 caps. Guy's been around forever, knows how to score goals. You give him an opportunity, right, he's going to score a goal. But really good defensive unit that the U.S. is going to try and break down tonight. And clearly a team that's sort of feeling this generation and that they can maybe make some hay in the World Cup and be maybe a surprise team at the World Cup. They were really good in CONMEBOL qualifying.
Joining us now to talk more on the U.S. from Austin, Texas is Paul Tenorio, senior writer for The Athletic. Paul, my subscription just renewed today, so I'm excited to read all the great stuff that you've got going for us down there in Austin, Texas. It's the first of quite a few challenges for the U.S. ahead of the World Cup next summer. How important is it for the U.S. to really start off on the right foot in this match tonight against Ecuador?
Yeah, of course they need to start well, because I think we're at the point with this project with Mauricio Pochettino where they need positive results. It can't just be about performances at this point. And it's weird because friendlies are a proving ground. They're a chance to experiment, try things out, and results shouldn't matter. But when you need validation in terms of how things are going, which I think this program does, when you need to build trust and belief, then you need to get results. And so after the Japan win, they need to create a little bit of momentum and positivity. And I think certainly that starts at the beginning of this game of carrying over a strong performance from Japan into this match and then go and try to get the result so that there's belief building within the group that Mauricio Pochettino's plan is starting to work.
Paul, with regards to this roster, you used the word trust. Are we starting now to see the guys that Mauricio Pochettino trusts the most right now? He said after September experimentation was over. Likely not. That doesn't mean from a formation standpoint, but from a roster standpoint. So Tyler Adams, aside, guys that are injured, is that what we got in this roster?
I think so. I mean, it's funny because he said that, and then he brings James Sands in, who he hasn't called in at all during his time. So he does have a new face in this camp. But I think we're certainly getting closer to what I think his core group is, the players that he trusts. Yesterday, though, he said, I promise you that there's no one in that room, speaking about the U.S. locker room, that believes that they have a spot guaranteed for the World Cup. That is what Mauricio Pochettino is trying to create, that level of instability, that kind of lack of security. He doesn't want anyone feeling that their spot is locked up. He believes that's the thing that will lead to the best and the most amount of competition within this group. So I do think, though, that we're seeing the guys that are going to be around for the most part. Yes, Des is not here, Tyler Adams. I think those two players would be involved in any camp at the World Cup as long as they're healthy. But, the guys that he trusts are here. And now let's start to see, does he start to kind of lock in what the formation is going to be, how he wants to play, the combinations he wants on the field. I think that's the next phase of this. But I think for the most part, kind of the in and out of players is going to decrease. But I don't want to say anything for sure with Pochettino when it comes to rosters because he's been so unpredictable.
Well, Paul, I hope this name is not controversial to add to the roster. Antonee Jedi Robinson, in my opinion, and I'm going to speak for you because that's what I do. It's what I get paid to do, speak for you. I mean, he's going to be on the roster when healthy, right? He's up there for probably the second most important player for the U.S. men's national team. You could argue Tyler Adams as well. We haven't seen him with the team since last November. How much is this staff and how much is this group looking forward to seeing him and just witnessing him being back on the field and healthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that he's here speaks to how important he is to the team and to the group and to Mauricio Pochettino and his staff. Antonee Robinson might not play. Pochettino said yesterday he didn't train. And Antonee Robinson, when he spoke earlier this week, said, I don't know how many minutes I'll play. I don't know if I'll play. But it was important for them to get him back into the group, to be around the team, because it had been nearly a year since he had been in. And they see him as such a valuable member such an important leader in this group that they said, okay, even if you can't play, we want you back in the camp. We want you around the staff. We want you around the players, because they know when he is healthy, he is the starting left back on this team. And there is a drop off between him and Max Arfson. So when he's on the field, the things that the U.S. can do are a little bit different. When he's bombing forward from the left side, I think Max Arfson is very good on the attacking end of the field, but there is something to be said for what Antonee Robinson did last year in the Premier League. He was maybe the best left back in the league. So, the fact that he is here, even though he's not 100% healthy, even though he might not play, speaks to how valuable the coaching staff sees him as for this U.S. group.